What are two games that would surprise you if they ended up on the Switch within like Switch 2, to be clear, within the first month or two? I was trying to think about this. I was like, what would be some out-of-pocket ones that could actually do kind of well? And I was thinking, well, maybe you could really push and get like Path of Exile 2 on there. That could be cool on the Switch. Imagine that just on the go fully. You can already play it on like the Steam Deck, but imagine if it's like a really good port. That could be cool. You know, maybe if they could get Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 running on it, that could be really cool. But what if instead you got some more Bethesda games and you liked it? Suck it up. It's rumored that Starfield and Fallout 4 are also coming to the Switch 2 soon after it launches. This is coming from the video game insider Xtassels, maybe, I don't know, who in their YouTube video mentioned the following games coming to the Switch 2. Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024, the Master Chief Collection, Diablo 4, a Call of Duty game of some sort, Fallout 4, and Starfield. Of course, we already know that the Call of Duty games are expected to come to the Switch. This came out as part of the like FTC hearings and stuff with the acquisition of Activision Blizzard King. They kind of needed to do that, so that is reasonable. But as part of it, some of these others would be surprising. For one, Microsoft Flight Simulator, this, like, it's not a light game to play. It is heavy. In fact, just the other night, I was talking to my brothers while we were playing Marvel Rivals. And my brother Tim, he has a Series S, Xbox Series S, and he's tried to play Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 on that thing many times, and he can't get it working at all. It just doesn't function. It's at like 3 frames a second. It's crazy. I would be shocked if they could get that running on the Switch. I would genuinely be stunned if they could figure that out. But maybe if it's a dedicated port and they're able to build it out and optimize it, maybe then it works. But I mean, it's a CPU heavy game and it's also a RAM heavy game. It needs a lot of RAM, but we'll see. The rumors are that the Switch 2 is actually going to feature more RAM than the Series S, which would be pretty hilarious if it runs these games better than Microsoft's own console. But time will tell. Some of these other ones, Halo, the Master Chief Collection, this would be a big deal if it came, because I think that would launch at probably at the same time as coming to, like, I would imagine like a relaunch on PC, like a full launch on PlayStation as well. If they do this I think would be a big deal if they actually did that. Diablo 4, again, these like ARPGs on handhelds, if they can get it working, are great. I think they are like the ideal game, especially if there's like a suspend option where you can just pause, put it down, do what you need to do, pull it out next time you go to the bathroom, play a little bit, pause. You know, that's where these handhelds really excel. So I think that would be a great one. Call of Duty on a Switch sounds like actual ass. I cannot imagine why anyone would do that to themselves, but more power to you. Have you ever tried Apex? Apex Legends is on the Switch. And man, let me see if I can find it. Switch gameplay. Like, this is all docked, of course, but like it's rendering at such a low resolution that like it's kind of hard to read the text. It probably doesn't look that bad through stream if you're watching this on like a phone or whatever. But just to zoom in so you can see what I'm seeing. I mean, playing this on a TV or something would be pretty rough. You know, it don't run too good on the Switch, I'll tell you what. But it's on the Switch, and you know, I guess to their credit, they got it on there. But anytime, like when I was in my Apex Legends like mega phase a couple years back or a few years back, I just wanted to play it all the time, and so I tried downloading it on the Switch because it was pre-ROG Ally, pre-Steam Deck and everything. And my God, it was better to just not play at all. It was better to just not play at all. Because I was like, you can't play a competitive game when it looks like this. Maybe if the matchmaking is exclusively on the Switch, then it works. You can see these guys are on Switch, so that could make it fair. But man, it's like a different game. It's just, it was not designed for it. So maybe Call of Duty on the Switch could run well. Maybe that works, but I would be surprised if they could get it running at a decent level. Fallout 4 on the Switch too. That would be a solid get. I think that that's a really good game for a platform like the Switch, and it's a 2015 game, so it should run quite well. The Witcher 3 was already on the original Switch, and that was, of course, also a 2015 game. It didn't run great on the original Switch, but that would just make me think that whatever they're able to do now on the Switch 2 should make it look and run way, way better. Starfield would be surprising because Starfield is also pretty CPU intensive. It's pretty heavy to run. It's scalable, and I'll give them credit for that. But I guess if their targets are 720p at 30 frames, it should probably be able to do that, I would imagine. But I guess we'll see. But I mean, the goal for Microsoft for the last handful of years has been to get their games on as many platforms as possible, to distribute them far and wide. And this would follow in that strategic pursuit. And I can imagine, you know, somebody gets the Switch 2 day one and they're looking in the Nintendo eShop and they're like, ooh, what should I download? And then they see Indiana Jones, they see Starfield, they see Fallout 4. I could see people buying it for 20, 30 bucks, you know. If it's a full 60 or 70, that sucks. But I could see somebody downloading it to play it again. I could totally see that. My question is whether they could get something like Game Pass operating on the Switch 2. Imagine that. Imagine if they had Game Pass for Switch and it's like $8 a month or $9 a month. And it's just a series of releases that are available on the Switch, ports that are on the Switch. It doesn't copy over to PC Game Pass unless you do Ultimate or anything else. But they literally could have an ad. Jimothy, you read my mind. They literally could have an ad where the Switch 2 pops up on screen and they say, this is an Xbox 2. Like you could actually see that, which is kind of crazy. But that also, I think, is, it follows in line with their strategic goals, which is just their games on as many platforms as possible. I think full Game Pass, I don't think there's any other examples of subscription services working on the Switch. I don't think they even have the infrastructure set up for it, because even EA has like EA Play and stuff like that, but I don't think that even is on the Switch. So I'd be surprised if it ends up there, but that would be a huge get for Microsoft, no doubt, if they could get that working. And then, you know, you've got Switch players who are subscribing to Game Pass for that library. You know, that could be a pretty significant thing. It better be OLED, says Envisioner. So Nintendo hasn't announced what the display is. Leakers and like the industry analysts that are looking at what Nintendo is buying for the manufacturing, they say it's an LCD screen, like the original Switch. It's probably an LCD screen. That's almost certainly what it is, because they've ordered them from suppliers and then they ship them to the manufacturing center. And so they're not buying those screens just for fun. Like they're going to go on the device. LCD's cheaper. Yeah. And LCD, like, to be fair, LCD screens are still good. It's mostly about the backlight. There's ways you can do like local dimming zones to make the screens contrast better. I don't expect them to do anything like that for this device. I would expect it's just one gigantic edge lit, backlight, but it's a handheld device. I mean, they're trying to save costs where they can. And then, it's because they're also going to release a freaking OLED version in a year or two, and you're going to buy another one and you're going to like it. That's how it's going to be. So never trust a leaker. Well, the problem is that the reason we knew about a Switch OLED whenever that launched a couple years ago is because those leakers and industry analysts were looking at it and found an example of where they were buying all of these LCD screens or all these OLED screens, because there was some supplier, I forget if it was Samsung or what, but one of these suppliers had sold something insane, like 700,000 7-inch OLED screens. And people were like, why would Nintendo need so many thousands of OLED screens at this size? It doesn't take a genius to figure it out. So this stuff, it tends to leak pretty quickly, especially when you're ordering that many of one part, which can only be for one thing, Not a shocker. Especially because 720p OLED screens in whatever year that was, 2022, 2023, not that common a thing to order. Not many big companies are ordering 720p OLED screens. It's not a big thing. Apple's not doing that. Apple's buying the much higher resolution ones, you know, so it was pretty clear where it was going. Wonder what resolution the Switch 2 screen is. I don't actually know if they've said. Have they said, or have the leakers speculated? Polygon is saying it's expected maybe for 720p with upscaling up to 4K when docked with DLSS. Some sites are guessing maybe it could go all the way up to 900p, but it sounds like most of them are saying 720p. The thing to remember is that it's a smaller device. The other piece though is that this is bigger. I mean, the Switch 2 is bigger than the original Switch by a decent amount. Yeah, like look at this. So the screen being bigger, I think, would be a solid get. But also, like, where's my MS Paint when I need it? If you look at this, you can kind of vaguely see the borders in these pictures. Ever so slightly. Because I think just from where the color shifts, it looks like this is probably the border roughly of the screen. And then on the original Switch, you can see it much clearer that this is the border of the screen. So, I mean, you can see that the screen is going to be a significant bit bigger. And that's when you'll notice the lower resolution, even in a handheld format, as you're holding it up to your face. So the bigger the device gets, you need to have a bigger screen. Yeah, glad those big ass bezels are gone. I mean, it might be even more. Where's the trailer for it? I think there's still bezels. I don't think it goes all the way to the edge. But let's see. Part of this, I mean, part of it is that I think the biggest part of the reason the screen is the size it is and has the bezels it does is because the more you stretch it out to the edges, the more likely it is to crack or get damaged on a drop. I think that's a big part of it. Plus, smaller screen, probably cheaper to produce, but still, I think that's a decent sized part of it, because the OLED is much sturdier than the original Switch. It's like more metallic and less plasticky feeling, and that has thinner bezels. But that's also one of the easy ways for upgrading, you know, like if you have the big bezels on the next version of the console that's OLED, you just stretch the bezels out. The form factor can stay the same, but you just thin out the bezels. Then it seems like an even bigger upgrade, you know? A lot of this is factored in when they're designing these. It's like, where's the mid-gen refresh? Where do we go from here? And you can already see people are speculating on what the Switch 2 XL will be like. Where do they go from here? What's the upgrade gonna be like? And you know, you better believe Nintendo's thinking about it too. There's even rumors about a folding screen version because there's a patent where they show like a screen that flips up. And there's a USB-C port on the top. So some people are thinking that there's like a secondary attachable screen. But imagine the people who thought that this is what they were going to get with the Switch 2. This video from January 2022. Sorry.